Welcome back to the channel. It's Mazer. I had to redo this video because I wanted to talk about something else. Then I realized that there's a way more cool topic that would make a better title for a video. Safety, liberty, in the pursuit of happiness. I said that wrong in terms of like where I'm thinking of, but it doesn't really matter. A big conversation people like to have nowadays is kind of like flock cameras, how they're taking away people's liberty. Another thing is kind of just like AI and constant surveillance when it comes to either the government or really anyone with authority. I think social media, whatever you want to consider, anything that has power over you, it seems to want to have your data and use it to, like we eat cake. Yeah. Today's video is biased. I'll go ahead and just say that right now. I like Captain America, so I'm already a little anti-government. Not like major, but like I'm not exactly the best when it comes to having a strong central government in terms of taking away certain things. It's a little nuanced. It's not as simple as saying anything really. You'd have to ask me in person. Anyways, just wanted to point you guys out there. I'm pretty biased. You'll figure it out anyway. So I'm not gonna claim to be a centrist, but straight up, I don't understand why you'd ever want to trade a freedom for safety. To an extent, I understand like the idea that if you're safe, you don't need X, Y, and Z, but that's so unrealistic. I don't think there's ever been a time, and there ever will be a time, where everyone can agree, but not only can agree, but everyone has the exact same conditions to which allow them to feel and act the same. Because when you say something like, let's just use people say guns for a while. When people like want to argue, hey, gun laws, we don't really need guns, because if we didn't all have guns, then we would be safe. The issue is, immediately, there will 100% be a person that doesn't think like you that says, I want this to happen. And they're going to be like, I want to use violence to solve the problem. This is not a new thing. This has been existing since humans have existed. There's always going to be a murderer. And that's just how it is. It's funny to think about because no other, well, I'm not saying no other animal. Off the top of my head, I can't think of another animal that has like murderers. Like, from my understanding, most animals, they have simpler lives. They're not as complex, and they usually only have a couple of basic things. But when you get the more complex life, that's when you start to get an issue with like diversity and opinion, and also like thoughts. The thought itself makes it so like we can't all agree. So you can't really have a situation where like you can't guarantee safety, because people have different versions of safety. People have different needs and wants. Some people are actually totally okay with living a nuclear family lifestyle where all they do is work, make money, and have kids, and that's their happiness. Other people, not so much. Solitude is a growing need, and then of course, solitude versus the nuclear family do hurt each other a lot. This is a very American-based thing, I think, starting off the video, but it's like that those two things already conflict enough. So when people say I don't want guns, they're not good, one side's gonna think, of course, when I'm thinking about my life, I'm not thinking about violence. But then you have a more solo person, they're gonna be like, I'm by myself. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you will tend to see the people who are solitary are either more paranoid, or sometimes they're just constantly like threatened by the nuclear family, because the nuclear family is I think it's still the most popular way of life. So a lot of times you'll have pressure from parents, family, friends saying, hey, you should do more stuff, you should be different, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's different. And people are going to be thinking, oh wow, my way of life is being threatened, which culminates in differences in opinions and blah blah blah. The point is, they're not going to agree with you completely. So I don't think there's going to be everything all be powerful law that'll just say, if we do this completely, there will be good things and only good things. And I will go ahead and address another argument, because we're still on the gun thing, because I got like a swing and a hit at this. I think an argument a lot of people like to make is that it'll do more good than bad if you ban guns. Like, even if there will be gun violence, still it'll be very small, considering there won't be like guns in homes and in the reach of people who are more susceptible to violence. To that, I say, I really don't think that's a smart idea. I can't defend the argument. I don't have data right now to confirm if more guns leads to, more or less gun violence, but the logic does hold up. But I also understand the argument that I don't have any evidence for, yet again, that you can see, like, when people have guns, they're a little less likely to shoot people, knowing that there's no one truly harmless, not harmless, but truly, like, defenseless to, not hurt them as well. That is to say, I don't think it's a good argument. Either one of them I don't think is truly good. And frankly, I think there's a lot more benefit from freedom. Because in that case, you kind of make every single choice. It makes you a little more responsible for what happens to you. But I think that's a good thing anyways. That kind of leads to learning. I'll go ahead and get to the genesis of this. My idea is that freedom is always going to be like the best thing, because when you have a choice, you kind of are smarter, you're more capable, and of course there is like the concept of like not needing to be as smart, just like naturally you don't have to be, because of specialization. You don't really have to know everything, you don't have to do everything, but you do end up being more functional in a lot of ways. Like you become a jack of all trades, and that's kind of good. I think that's like a very beneficial thing to have. Like, you're not for me personally, it's like in the sense that you don't need as much help, but more importantly, on a society standpoint, things get done faster, and I think that's pretty good when you want society to develop and become better. That's like generally a good idea. So when I see things that kind of limit your ability to think for yourself, like when social media is tracking what you do and they can tell you where you are, who you're talking to, very limiting in terms of me. It's empowering to other people. And that's kind of, I think, this a little dangerous, especially since it's just like, why would that be necessary? Because it's not really necessary, it just makes things easier. And sometimes you gotta realize that easiness is not the best. I'm rambling now, I think. Let's get back on topic. Let's just switch to my next thing, flock cameras. A big argument for flock cameras is that they will stop a lot of crimes, because people being recorded. People know everything. And I think they're publicly... I forget if you can publicly see them. I'm going to assume that you can look at them publicly. I didn't do a lot of research for this video. This wasn't really meant to be like a Mazer has the answers video. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure flock cameras, you can yourself look at them. Yeah, you can at least tell where they are. They're obviously in public. I think there's like a website for that, to see where they're recording. But it's also an issue of people who are not you have access to where you are, regardless of situations. And people will argue, hey, that's gonna be a safety precaution. We know where you are. My thing is, that's like a nanny cam for babies. It's like, we don't trust you to keep yourself safe, so we have to record you. That's the sort of situation I think flock cameras are, where it's like a lack of trust, or also like a passing down of power. You're giving up your own power to a higher up who you presumably trust with that. But of course, I can't say trust, because I don't think the average American has actually given any consensus, any thought to like if we should have flock cameras. They just kind of appeared behind the scenes, I guess. Once again, didn't do research. I'm pretty sure they're constitutional because they're here. But at the same time, I feel like Trump's presidency has been proof that constitutionality has been kind of questionable for a lot of things. So research is more definitely demanded. Maybe one other time I'll do research. Unfortunately, I do not have time. But great on that whole thing. Why is it that in the last 10 years we've been like trading our liberties, I'll say liberties. We've been trading a lot of liberties for perceived safety and in some terms actual safety. It's such a common thing. It's not even just in the last 10 years. I think it's like in the last, really since ever. I think for a long time, people have been slowly transitioning a lot of liberties they have in pursuit of safety. And I'm biased to say it because this is a big thing. I think every generation doesn't realize it, but I think once like a generation passes their kid age, then they start to see all the things that they kind of don't have anymore in terms of like liberties. I think that happens for almost every generation. There's like a big old harumph, like, oh, we used to be able to do this and that, and it's beyond like economics. It's just kind of like socially and also legally in this case, what you could do and what you can't do. Nowadays, it's kind of just like, I know for schooling, it's a big issue, or like not really a big issue, but like a lot of issues are cracking down on like phones. You can't really have your phone at school, and they're arguing it's a safety thing. There's a lot of bad things people do with phones at school, and I guess education isn't enough anymore. And now it's kind of a situation where like, oh, we don't trust you at all, so we're just gonna take away phones, and that's gonna be the solution. Take away your liberty, because that is the solution we have to give you. Pass the power, pass the safety on to your teachers. Those people we have decided to trust more with your safety and your communication, essentially. That's like a late Gen Z thing. Another thing has also been, I think, recently the White House has been having talks of like changing how either voting works or how you can be registered to vote. I think there's conversations about changing what you need to be registered to vote. Yeah, they're really trying to stretch that liberty. Like, it's not even liberty. That's a right. Like, you have a right to vote. That's more of just a actual civil right. But they're trying to stretch that out. I think they're trying to stretch it out until it becomes a liberty. Which, of course, once it's a liberty, it becomes super stretched even further. That's more on the conspiracy side of things. But, based off of what they're doing, they're clearly trying to make it harder to vote. So there's a reason for that. Most definitely, distrust in the common man. They don't trust you to vote as much as they did when they were able to vote. That's probably the best way to put it. I mean, you do see self-sabotage, not self-sabotage, but you see self-sabotage in like every generation. Ask your parents, like, what were you guys allowed to do? And they'll say some stuff that you can't do, and it'll be partly because they didn't want you to do it. I think party culture is a big part of that, where it's like there's good reasoning for it, safety, but there's also the proponent where it's like it's stuff that I trust myself to be able to do, but I don't trust you to be able to do it. That sort of thing. I am somehow more wise, and I was more wise than you. But there's also a situation where it's like I've been through it and it's bad. Or like a learned experience that I know is bad, and that's why you can't do it. Those situations, that's a little different, because like that's not really them taking away a liberty. It's them passing off useful information. That doesn't happen as often as you think it does, I think. Once again, this is a very biased video. Opinions and opinions. I'm not 20,000 years old. That was a weird pause. But yeah, like I don't have all the answers. But I definitely don't think that's a common case. It does happen, but I think you can kind of tell when it happens because they'll say it outright. I've had this experience. And hopefully they're more detailed so you can believe them. Or even better, they have proof. That's even better. Proof seems to be something no one ever has to give. I'm actually part of the problem here. I'm telling you things, and you have no reason to believe me. You have no reason to think that I'm right. Unless you already agree with me. So you kind of know what to expect. You already agree with me. Or if you don't agree with me, you don't have a reason to not agree with me, so you're going to agree, which is not the best in the world. Because, an issue I think with today is that people don't want to give evidence. They don't have evidence to give you, which is partly an issue, because that's like reasoning for saying, hey, let's take away this guy's liberties because they don't do research, or they haven't done research. Not very good. I guess it's more important to have scientist friends so they can tell you stuff and they can give you the research they've done by their own selves, because it's hard to get rid of research, It's a skill to really discern what is useful information and what is, like, truthful information, because everything lies to you. Literally everything. Like, I don't think, like, people used to say, oh, if it says .gov, it's trustable. That's not true anymore when, like, even the White House wants to, like, take away documents and change how people view history by eliminating certain events that make things look a little different. They don't give you the full picture. They kind of screenshot it and they change it around. Like, everything that they're telling you is mostly true in .gov. I don't think they lie on .gov. They just don't give you the full picture. So it's like, it's essentially a lie. This was kind of a weird video. I don't know how this is going to upload well. It won't be a good video. I haven't uploaded in a while. But I think you guys can kind of see the message. I don't really think that you should ever trade safety for liberty. Those are not mutually exclusive. You should have absolute freedom. Not quite on the level of anarchy, but on the level that if there's not a good reason why you shouldn't, you absolutely should. And when it comes to things preventing liberties, safety, unless it's 100% guaranteed and there's no drawbacks, or even drawbacks that would be equivalent, if not worse, that shouldn't be considered. I don't think there should be a world where you say, I'm willing to give up this liberty if it means safety. Especially if that liberty is taken away and can be used by someone else with authority over that liberty to just do whatever they want. Like, the government isn't trustable to the fullest extent. Think about this. Almost every other president has some sort of fiasco where they've been proven to either not say what they're going to do, or in general they're just not trustable. Like, we gloss over 2001 too much. That whole entire war on terror has proven the government is willing to spy on you to the fullest extent of their abilities. There shouldn't be any trust that the government will use your data correctly, because we also know what the government does. We know for a fact they fund movies, they fund businesses, they fund anything if it means changing the perception of the world. The FBI exists for a reason. Like, it's not as simple as, like, I trust these guys with my everything. There's gotta be a balance, and part of I think life as an adult has to be, even though you'll make my life easier, I can't trust that it will only get easier from here. So I'll be willing to make things harder, because I know what I know, or rather, I know what I want, and that's not really the best argument. I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing myself here. It's like you when you have your liberties, you should keep them just because it's proof of your humanity. It's proof of concept, of humanity's concept, that with every generation you get smarter, you get more capable, and you become better thinkers. I think that's a pretty solid argument I can say. You become a more interesting, more complex and developed person because you learn stuff and things, and you're able to do stuff. You're able to experiment. You can't experiment when your liberties are taken away. You really can't. Sure, you're safe, but let's not forget dogs are safe, but they're not allowed to leave the house without an adult, or really without a human. And that's kind of a weird concept, but it's a true concept. Without your liberties, you become a domesticated animal. Without free will. Your will, like, you can't ever be taken away. Like, free will you will always have, but it'll be limited in how you exercise it. A growing trend, not even a growing trend. It is a growing trend, actually, I think. Like, people think, like, oh, I'm doing it just because I want to exercise my free will. Like, excellent use of free will. It's a little cringy, but it's got heart to it because there's constant measures being taken to take it away. When it comes to people saying, I want this power over you, or I have this power over you, and you're too young to stop it, or you're too late to stop it when it comes to like voting. That's a pretty big no-no. But people exercise free will because of that. It's proof of concept. It's proof of humanity. That's awesome. This video's gone way too long. And I don't really have anything excellent to say in this last second. So I'm just going to say, see you guys in the next one. And hopefully you use this video as like a jumping off point to do research on either any of the things I said. Or, you know, maybe it's like a nugget of information that you just have and you feel better for knowing it. That's how I feel when I watch like history YouTube videos. Like, oh, I know this history now. I feel better, even if I won't use this in a day-to-day conversation. Anyways, see you guys next one.